Hi everyone, my name is Hero Mystery and I'm the founder of Mystery Healthcare. Mystery Healthcare provides education on medical cannabis use. Today I'm going to be here with Danny Malachi discussing his criminal record with cannabis. But before we get into that, I wanted to reflect back onto 1923 when cannabis was prohibited. It really makes me wonder why it was so heavily criminalized when the plant helps people in so many ways. It wasn't until 2001 that medical cannabis became legalized. Recreational cannabis in North America became legal on October 17th, 2018. It was only 5 years ago that the war on cannabis has ended. Cannabis has so many positive benefits to the human body that the stigma behind the plant has made it so hard for society to accept it even today. Cannabis has been classified as a Scheduled 1 drug, meaning its restriction to prescription is controlled under the Regulated Health Professions Act. Today, Danny Malachi, who was criminalized for his actions with cannabis use, is going to be discussing how his life has been on pause for the past 10 years. I met Danny 3 years ago when I moved into town and we bonded over a joint and a genuine friendship. When Danny told me about his situation with cannabis trouble, it really made me feel hopeless because he was punished by the law over a plant that does more good than harm. I want society to see the world of cannabis as a holistic plant that brings nothing but harmony to one's life. Danny's life as a young adult has been paused for the past 10 years, and I just want society to see how the law has demonized cannabis. So let's take a look at the video.
Hi, my name is Danny Malachi. I was born March 4th, 1995. On November 11th, 2013, I was arrested for marijuana possession with the purpose of trafficking for the amount under 30 grams. This happened in Georgetown, Ontario, on Miller Drive. I was just 18 years old. In fact, it happened right here.
I'm here today with Danny Malachi to discuss his incarceration experience with cannabis. But like we do in every episode, Danny, what's your favorite cannabis strain?
It would probably have to be General Admission's Tiger Blood.
Okay. And how do you like to consume this tiger blood?
Well, one of my more common forms of consumption is smoking joints.
Thank you so much, Danny, for coming across the street and interviewing with us here today. Can you tell us about the first time you started smoking weed?
Well, you see, I had a terribly negative perspective towards marijuana. I was the last in my friend group to give it a try. And the first time I ended up trying it, it was smoked out of a bong, a forest.
Danny, after you tried to smoke the bong or hit the bong, how did you feel after?
Left me with a nice feeling, almost like I used to run track and field. So when you sprint 100 meters, afterwards you're out of breath, but it's a very satisfying breathlessness.
Kind of like adrenaline. Tell us about the first time that you encountered police and cannabis when it was illegal.
I believe the year was 2013. I was just 18 years old, and I was living out of my Jeep Wrangler. I had just smoked in the forest with some friends, and a couple of them who lived on the other side of town needed a ride back home. A police cruiser started rolling down the street towards us. And when the cop came up, I kept my arm here, and he was standing here, so his line of sight, he could not see anything as far as I was aware. I had 20 grams inside the center console, but there was one bag of weed with maybe 5 or 6 grams separated.
Okay.
Right beside me between the car seat and the center console.
Okay.
So we talked for maybe 5 minutes, and after the 5 minutes passed, and he felt pretty comfortable, and he hadn't found anything, or none of his suspicions have came to light.
Okay.
He went to go leave, and I went to go shake his hand goodbye with my dominant right hand, which was covering the weed baggie, and allowed his line of sight to see the weed sitting between my thighs.
This was Danny's first encounter with the law enforcement with cannabis. I believe you said that you were on probation for how many months after?
I was on probation for 18 months.
Okay, so 18 months on probation. What did you have to do in that time?
Oh, I needed to attend every meeting that she scheduled. I believe I needed to complete 30 hours of community service as well as stay away from the person or persons, I should say, that I was indicted with.
Okay.
Uh,
Were they?
so
What happened to them? What happened to your friends? Did they also?
They were both 17 while I just turned 18,
Okay.
so they ended up following a completely different. I'm not exactly sure. We did not keep contact.
You said that you were on probation for 18 months. And I remember you mentioned the first time you told me the story that just as your probation was ending, something happened.
So I was with some friends in my vehicle, and we were just smoking. Wanted to try the new McDonald's poutine. It had just been released.
Sounds yummy.
So we rolled up through the drive-thru, as we do every Sunday after hockey. We joked around a bit through the drive-thru microphone. As then, I guess somebody wasn't having a good night at work,
Okay.
and assumed that our playful chatter over the drive-thru microphone was intoxication behind the wheel.
Okay.
Reasons being alcohol. Up the first window, I paid. I pulled up to the second window, and they asked me to pull to the side.
Okay.
I went, oh gosh, maybe McDonald's poutine is really, really good and actually takes a little while to make, unlike everything else that takes 2.5 minutes max.
Okay.
So we pulled up to that area where you sit and you kind of wait for your food.
Yeah.
Then we were waiting there for a while. The girls had to go to the washroom.
Okay.
So they went in, and all of a sudden, this cop just comes into the parking lot through the part where you're only supposed to pull out and cuts off right in front of me as if I'm going to try to pull away.
Cop comes and he obviously asks you probably for your information. What happened after that?
Well, actually, after the cop pulled in front of my car so aggressively, he got out of his own car and opened my car door. With what I believe was not reasonable suspicion, but I guess since he got a call about drinking and driving, I guess maybe he assumed he had reasonable suspicion.
Yeah. So what happened next after the cop comes and opens your door?
He immediately started a discussion as if he knew I was guilty of some sort of wrongdoing, while clearly searching around the vehicle. Asked me to step out and for information. Not exactly sure. It was all such a quick rush. The girls came out of the bathroom around the same time. So much happened at once. I wasn't sure, and within the next 10 minutes or so, I was in the back of the cop vehicle, and they had found like 1.5 grams.
So the cop comes and opens your door, and do you remember if he read you your rights?
It's been about a decade. I honestly don't remember that much.
Okay. So, and then what other questions did he ask you? Did he tell you to step out of your vehicle? Did he search your vehicle for anything?
I do remember a search. I remember stepping out of my vehicle. I remember the girls coming out from McDonald's around the same time this all happened, and then I remember being in the back of the police vehicle because they found a little less than 1 gram, I believe. Got taken to jail in Hamilton.
Okay, so wait, you got taken to Hamilton after sitting behind a cop car. Like, did you get to call anybody? Did you get to, I don't know, ask any questions to the cop as to why this is happening? Were you given a chance to explain yourself?
I believe when they found the weed, I understood that it was a few days left before the end of my probation, so I understood that I was facing the consequences of my actions.
How were you feeling about this?
I was mostly frustrated and upset, but the feelings that I tried to portray to the cop was that of fake tears. Wasn't very successful. I'm not too good at fake crying.
Okay.
I've only tried it twice, both
Yeah.
times with cops.
Okay.
Oh,
Did he
I've tried it a
know?
third
Did he
time
know
now.
that you were drinking?
He was aware I was not under
Did
the
you have
influence
to
of
take
alcohol whatsoever.
Did you have to take a test?
No, not even. He wasn't. He
didn't-
was so confident I had no alcohol in my system.
Okay.
There wasn't even a question after, I think maybe initially when he opened the door on me, he may have asked if I had been drinking.
Did you
Jesus,
even get
Hero.
to eat your McDonald's?
Nope, never received it.
How did you know you were going to Maplehurst after you arrived in Hamilton?
I didn't.
Okay. Did you talk to any lawyers, or was there anybody, a social worker, anybody in contact with you to kind of get through this process?
After I arrived in jail, I got to start going to court appointments with a court-appointed lawyer, and I was terrified of this situation that I was completely unfamiliar with.
Yeah, and totally unfair over less than almost 2 grams a week, right?
Yeah.
You're in a cell with a bunch of.
I felt the punishment I was receiving was excessive compared to the crime.
So at one point, did your family or your friends find out that you were in jail?
So the girls knew right away and probably told a group of friends of my own.
Okay.
As they were there for the arrest. My family, I believe I got to contact when I got to Maplehurst, but I'm not 100% sure. It was about 10 years ago. I'm a little fuzzy on some of the details as my focus wasn't other people but myself.
10 years is a long time, so you can only imagine what happened to Danny as a young adolescent.
The majority of the population was in there for some sort of higher-end breaking and robbery or some sort of physical violence. There was a couple murders and manslaughters. There was a couple people who supposedly received manslaughter but were murdered.
So a wide range of offenses, and obviously when you were there, you were probably thinking to yourself, like, why am I in here, right? So you were in there for how long again?
28 days after everything was said and done.
Days later, you get let out. So what does that mean for your record? What does that mean going forward in terms of like moving on with your life at 18 years old?
I believe it was a felony class something crime that was
Okay.
extremely serious.
Okay.
I had a travel ban for the next decade. I had a weapons ban for the next decade. They thought I was some sort of.
And that, you had all these stipulations on your record. So what is it like in a situation like you, an 18-year-old getting out of jail and trying to find a job or trying to go back to school?
At first, I did not think there was much complication whatsoever, as the first jobs I tried to attain were in the restaurant industry, one that seemingly does not discriminate much about a criminal record.
Okay. What was it like? Was it discriminating? Did you feel any prejudice from like society, from your family, from your friends? Did you have anyone to talk to?
Usually, my intuition, I do not interact with people who live a lifestyle too close-minded or prejudiced or aggressive in their opinion.
And that you got jobs at a restaurant, you did some labor work. How else did you make money?
So, for majority of the decade, I continued to work in restaurants. As I moved around, I found it was extremely easy to get a restaurant job when you have past experience, so it was very comfortable to go in there, and I had a lot of complications finding jobs elsewhere, so I just moved, restaurant job, moved somewhere else, another restaurant job.
Okay.
Never really found much else outside that, despite attempts.
Okay. Did your probation officer or court lawyer, did they help you?
They did a terrible job.
I see that you're continuing to use recreational cannabis regularly. Would you say that you would choose cannabis over alcohol and other drugs?
In most scenarios, yes, I would.
Okay. Why is that?
I find my ability to function under the influences of cannabis is highest versus other intoxicants.
But now that it's legal, it's been 5 years almost, and you still see the same thing. You still see the medicinal effects of cannabis.
Yes.
Your perception of it hasn't changed.
Not just medicinal, but it has great social and networking benefits as well as it is relaxing.
So as you can see from Danny's story, that cannabis has many therapeutic effects. So why is it criminalized? Thank you, Danny, today for coming out here and sharing your story with the world about how demonized cannabis has been.
In the eyes of the law, yes. It was great coming to see you today.
Cannabis helps people in so many ways. So why is it so criminalized? The knowledge is not so easily accessible to Danny in terms of clearing his record. So why hasn't this been looked at by the justice system 5 years ago when cannabis did become legal? He could have lived his life differently over the past few years if his criminal record has been evaporated.